Happy Friday. Happy Good Friday. Welcome. We have an amazing show featuring Carmel Valley, California with Anastasiia of Sellstate Next Gen Realty. My name is Coach Ruben Austria of Lifeline Productions. Welcome to San Diego, LEARNin San Diego Live. All right. Welcome. Happy Good Friday. Happy Friday. Today we're actually in Carmel Valley, looking at the quality of life, market trends, and economic development of this area of the city. The one thing that I will tell you that I know about Carmel Valley, only because I currently live in North County, not too far away. But one thing about Carmel Valley that I know is that the schools are good, quality of life is great. But the reason why we have the show, I've been living in San Diego County for over 5 years and really don't know anything about it. And that's the reason why LEARNin Local exists, because we are about to find out a lot of great information about why spend time there, why buy real estate, and what's the hoopla all about. So before we continue, though, want to make mention that every week we have a live Freedom Friday show, and every afternoon of that same day, we actually feature the city that we were in the past Friday. So last Friday, we were featuring the city of Vista, California with Stephanie Sundell. Today, this afternoon from 2 to 4, we will be there in person at the Belching Beaver. Essentially, it's the flagship location of Vista, known for all their taverns and breweries. So you know what? We're going to learn a local this afternoon. So before we get to all of the information that we can provide for you today, let's start with our first segment, Learn Local News.
Hey guys, Nicole Turner here from Sellstate Next Gen Realty. We are talking about the market today, and we are going to definitely dive in to Carmel Valley. But first, let's talk about the world as a national and also right here in San Diego County. Now, you guys, right now, when you look at California, there are less than 50,000 homes for sale in our state. That's significantly low, and inventory has been short for so long. So in a seller's market, why does it make it advantageous for buyers to be out there buying right now? There's a lot of really good reasons. And I just closed on a home the other day that not $1 came out of the person's pocket to be able to close it. And so sometimes we don't understand the things that we can actually do to be able to make and break our way into real estate here, even in San Diego County. You guys, the rental market is something we need to talk about. And right now you've got about 36% of the population in that group in the 32 and younger age. So now we have purchasing power compromising that's happening. And so what does that mean? The demand is down. And being out there on the buy side can be advantageous. It's times that we can get concessions for closing costs. Sellers still in control with inventory, but if they need to sell, we're doing some crazy fun things right now on the buyer side here in San Diego's market. I know that we're going to talk about it more. Tracy, when you look at the rental world and the population, 32%, that's a pretty big number. Where's your thoughts there in the rental market and where that is kind of causing a little bit of a slowdown on the buy side?
Well, you know, we're in such interesting times, and having read the article, I made some notes here. We're really seeing a segmented renter economy. It's not just a single renter profile, and it breaks it down into three groups emerging. We've got the young professionals priced out of ownership, entry point, right? Those are the college grads wanting to buy a house. They're priced out unless they have families putting down the down payment. We have families that need that stability but can't bridge that affordability gap. And then the third one is long-term renters that are stuck. They're financially stuck despite wanting to buy because of that gap. So it's really is the shift signals a structural affordability issue, not a temporary cycle. And I think renters today aren't just renters, they're in completely different financial realities, such a range. But the reality is it's great for investors because they have a strong pool to rent to, right? For those investors out there. And then agents that are really staying connected with those renters, because it's not that they don't want to buy, they're just in a position where they're waiting for that something to shift where they can buy. That's kind of my take on things right now. What about you, Anastasiia? Oh, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I was muted for a second. Yeah, so of course I read the article as well. And hello, everybody. My name is Anastasiia Buiadzhy with Sellstate Next Gen Realty, and I'm your local realtor for everything Carmel Valley and adjacent. So anything like news and trends, like absolutely, I'm your guy, or girl. Sorry, but regarding the article, especially with the tiny twist on Carmel Valley, because that's what I'm here to talk about. Agree with everything that you said, but to add on that, like because of so much constraint of housing and like the prices did go up so much in renting is now seems to be a much more broad choice for so many more people, because even in Carmel Valley, even though it's a higher end submarket, the same larger dynamic is still seen here. People who might have been a buyer a year or two ago, like just a few years ago, are staying renters much longer, and that keeps pressure on quality rental housing while also supporting values in ownership neighborhoods with very limited supply. So I'll talk about it a little later too.
Martin, your world and wholesale, how's that going over there?
We'll always have a wholesale market. That will never stop. It's really when the market's like in a weird spot where it's either up or down, nobody really knows, is when we struggle. But as long as it's either good or bad, we will always have people looking for investments. So I will say on that end, it's been pretty good. But in terms of like the article, what I'm seeing, and as someone who feels it himself of being a younger individual, is renters are kind of being pushed towards like the inland areas away from the coast. Like everyone wants to live by the coast, La Jolla, San Diego, Los Angeles, even like Carlsbad, all that. But they can't really afford it unless you have a high paying job or some sort of dual income, which at this age, basically, they're not really going to have yet. That being said, most of these people will be moving in with roommates. So you're seeing a lot of younger generations with 2, 3, 4 roommates, even in like some of these stalls, 1 or 2 plexes. And a lot of these people, they're just being priced out of the areas that they really want to live in. So that's like the big thing I took away from this article.
Super good points. John, how's it going up there up in the North County?
Happy Friday, everyone. My name is John Anagnos with the eXp Realty, aka Mr. Carlsbad, your one-stop shop for everything residential real estate in Carlsbad. It's going great. It's going fantastic. There's a lot of real estate development coming into North County in the Carlsbad area, including Ocean Camp, which is a giant surf lagoon and gigantic hotel with lots of homes that are going to be for sale. So it's going to attract a lot of tourism, a lot of business.
Your rental demand up there, are you finding that it's stronger now because of population growth and the things that we're experiencing?
Yes. Yes and no at the same time. I mean, a lot more people are renting right now, and I do see that because we have really strict, lending restrictions right now, and also because of interest rates with inflation and cost of insurance, it's keeping a lot of buyers sidelined at the present moment, and we have to have some sort of one of those things come down or change for buyers to get that, back into the market. So we are seeing, buyers stay on the sidelines a lot longer and continue to rent until, something changes within the real estate market. We absolutely are.
Totally hear you. I think it's Casey. Quick input for recommend.
Yeah, guys, Casey Clayton here, your local lending expert with Cross Country Mortgage. Just to kind of touch on what everyone's saying about the affordability. Obviously, I think the one thing is with these younger renters is they have a very short-term mindset. I think if we can get them to think a little bit more long-term and understand that maybe the first home they buy isn't going to be their dream home, but a stepping stone to that, right? So for my own personal experience, I lived coastal Oceanside, rented. I had to buy inland Oceanside. I was about 3 miles from the beach, which doesn't sound terrible. But what you do is you buy, you get in the game, and as your home appreciates, as you move up through milestones in life, you then roll over that first property that you bought that maybe isn't exactly where you want to be, but probably isn't too bad, all things considered. And then you take that equity and you can roll it into the next property And maybe that second home is, now back in the coastal market where you originally wanted to be. But, some of these barriers are very short-sighted. If you take a little bit longer perspective on them, I think you'll see that there is a path to get to home ownership exactly where you want to be.
No, totally agree with that. You're always renting a house or buying a house. That's what I tell my clients. Like, you're always buying somebody's house, and we have to invest in your future because that's where the gold is truly, especially here in San Diego County. We're going to head on to the rest of the show. Coach Rue, take it from here.
Really appreciate that. Hey, one thing I will say about the affordability and everyone renting, I'm going to take a completely different approach. I just feel like there has to be more education for people to buy. Yeah. And maybe they're not buying their first home necessarily, but they're buying an investment before they buy their primary, right? So there's a lot of different ways we can look at this, but I appreciate everybody's input because you guys and girls are boots on the ground, and that's the reason why we're doing Learn Local and featuring. So before we get into that, I'm going to introduce Learn Local Live formally. So what is Learn Local Live? It is the first live real estate podcast where, quite frankly, real estate educators and investors and producers, all they have to do is step in front of our camera. And, we want to make you famous. We want to make you famous for educating, empowering, and inspiring people in your local community. Because if it weren't for you, we wouldn't have all the knowledge and quite frankly, the insight on good decisions that we as investors, but also consumers, spend millions and millions of dollars on. So we thank you for that. We do that by connecting, collaborating, and creating on the tools that are available, connecting on LinkedIn, collaborating on Instagram and Facebook, and also creating live streams like this on StreamYard, but also in-person events. So everyone, I really appreciate all you being here because you are all educators in the space, in your domains, from Lakeside to Carlsbad to escrow, to conventional mortgage and private lending. It's amazing, and it's a privilege to be with you all. So before we get into that really formally, I want to go into our Learn Local Educator segment. All right. We get that rock and roll. We get that energy because, if it weren't for these educators that coming onto the show, we wouldn't be possible. So we also want to thank our sponsors for today's show, Farmers Insurance. I'm sorry.
Located in Rancho Bernardo, we've been around for over 26 years and we've done over 60,000 tax deferred exchanges. If you don't do a 1031 tax deferred exchange, you could be faced with about 30 to 40% in taxes, right? Wouldn't you rather roll that over into the next property so that you can buy more with it? Well, we're here to give you your options. Let's talk.
All right, everybody. So before we get into our insights, just want to quickly, educators, thank you so much for introducing yourself and sharing your knowledge about what's quite frankly going on. Affordability is on high alert. But before affordability, before Carmel Valley, how was everyone's spring break? This is my first day of work all week. So how are you guys?
I'm with you, Ruben. I only worked one day this week. It was fantastic.
Amazing.
Well, I worked every day, you guys. I need to take a spring break. But you know what was so great? The highways, the freeway is like, oh my God, it's taken half the time to get everywhere I need to go. So thank you for taking spring break.
Tracy, actually, the opposite experience. All of my neighborhood, everything in like San Marcos, San Elijo area was just packed the entire week. I'm not sure why. People are probably visiting, but a lot of extra traffic and travel time for me just locally instead of like the traffic I face on the 5.
Yeah. All I knew is we packed up from Lakeside and headed west. It was totally overcast here and beautiful at the beach. Nothing but dolphins in the water. It was so gorgeous.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh,
I live close.
Casey, I was like you. I worked all week, but hopefully going to take my spring break next week, heading up to Park City and just praying that they are still pumping that fake snow because I know.
Yes. The fake snow is always great, Casey.
Want to say something else?
Always awesome.
I was just gonna say that I live right next to a middle school, so this week has been so much quieter, and I loved it.
All the kids are home.
100%.
On vacation.
Well, hey, I'm so thankful for all you educators, because quite frankly, without a panel of experts like yourself, we wouldn't be able to dive into the insights. And again, Carmel Valley is something I spent a lot of time, but really just eating, by the way. So can't wait to learn a lot more about what's going on there. Let's transition into our next segment, Learning Local Insights.
Hey guys, happy Friday. My name is John Agnos, aka Mr. Carlsbad with eXp Realty, here to talk about learning local insights. But first, let's thank our sponsor, Farmers Insurance.
Protection that puts you first. Your home and your family deserve security, stability, and peace of mind. For every mile, every moment, every memory in motion. Because every drive deserves to get you home safely. Comprehensive solutions that safeguard your operations, assets, and future. Farmers Insurance, because your life deserves protection that truly matters.
Once again, thank you so much to our sponsor, Farmers Insurance. And I can't wait to talk about, the quality of life in Carmel Valley. Super excited to talk about this. What do you think about the quality of life, Anastasiia?
Yeah, so Carmel Valley is one of those rare submarkets where these fundamentals really enforce each other, and starting with quality of life, it gives people what they're willing to pay a premium for. It gives convenience, strong schools, just like I said, the middle school right across like my street, access to the coast, good retail, good dining, open spaces, trails, so much more in a community that really feels put together. This was a master planned area like along the I-5 corridor, and it functions really like that way. It is not random. It has offices, hotels, shopping, and restaurants, parks that are very strategically placed, and public infrastructure is then built as such into it. So that matters really, because people here are not just buying square footage, they're buying ease, they're buying time saved in the day, and they're buying a neighborhood that already feels complete. And the resident profile actually backs that up pretty well. So in the zip code of Carmel Valley, 92130, median household income is just over $205,000, and poverty is only around 4.6%, with a median age of 40 and about 81.9% of adults having a bachelor's degree or higher. That alone tells you a lot very quickly. I know just threw a lot of numbers, but this is an efficient and highly educated resident base with real purchasing power and high expectations. And usually that supports stronger housing demand, better retail performance, and a cleaner value floor when markets soften.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the market trends real quick. What do you think, Anastasiia?
Well, before that, let's just have Martin. You have a comment about the quality of life in
I
Carmel?
was just gonna say, I'm down in this area a lot, not specifically Carmel Valley, but in Mira Mesa. That's like my main area where I like to do stuff like rock climbing and all that. But I will say, people say like San Diego and all that is like centrally located. I think this is the centrally located area if I had to pick, because you have UTC, you have La Jolla, a few exits south. Across the canyon, you have obviously Mira Mesa. Obviously, there's a lot of things to do in that area. And then right north, you immediately hit Rancho Santa Fe, and then you're close to North County and all that. So I think quality of life wise, because of the master planning, obviously you have a great infrastructure, great safety score, everything's super clean, planned out. And obviously the central location it's just peak in San Diego, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And it's close to the beach.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, no,
It's close,
It's
like
close to the
5,
beach.
well, depending on where you are, 5 to 10 minutes close to the
prime
beach.
San Diego.
Without the beachfront prices.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. What do you think about the current market trends in Carmel Valley, Anastasiia?
Yeah, so for all those amazing positive aspects, this is still a supply constrained submarket. The median home price is sitting around 1.4 million, I believe, and median days on market is only about 31 days. So the sale to list ratio is roughly like 98%. So homes are still trading close to ask, and they're not sitting around forever. There are only about 22 active listings, and based on the current pace of absorption, meaning like a lot of more are being listed, but they are getting into escrow or sold like very quickly. There's only around 8 days of inventory supply. That is extremely tight, and that is the real story here. Carmel Valley is not a market where there is a ton of product and buyers get to casually sort through options. It is a market where quality inventory stays limited, and when that happens in a high demand neighborhood, pricing tends to stay supported. But another important point, which I love about Carmel Valley, that this is not one single buyer pool. It is very much layered. The condo segment is around, I believe, $780,000, while single family homes are closer to like $2.3 million. So you have different demand bands, all operating inside the same submarket. Entry-level affluent buyers, move-up buyers, and established high-income households are all participating at different price points, and that gives the neighborhood its depth. And that depth honestly matters because when a market depends on only one kind of buyer, it gets very fragile. Carmel Valley is not like that. It has multiple demand layers, all chasing a relatively limited amount of well-located housing. So if we also zoom out, the county backdrop still helps this area too. San Diego overall continues to deal with constrained housing supply. So Carmel Valley is getting support from two different directions at once. Its own strong fundamentals and a broader regional shortage that keeps pressure on inventory. So even when the market is not euphoric, the scarcity piece is still doing a lot of work here.
Supply and demand, always the thing.
Yeah. Always, whenever.
Yeah. Carmel Valley is a super hot market. I've got clients that are looking there pretty regularly for all the reasons Anastasiia just mentioned. But to tie it back to the article too, I think the affordability piece of Carmel Valley and what you get there is really the key. For a city that borders Del Mar and is down the street from La Jolla, some of the highest price per square foot cities in San Diego County, you're really getting a great deal price per square foot in Carmel Valley. And whether it's, the first time home buyer looking at a 780 condo, or whether it's, hate to call it a kind of entry level home at 2 million. But when you're looking, if you want to live in Del Mar, you want to live in La Jolla, and that's your goal, the 2 million is the entry level price in those areas. And sometimes you can't even get a single family home there. So going to Carmel Valley is just a great alternative. You're right down the street. It's really quick to get to those areas, and it is really central, like Martin said, to everything else close by. So I think that's a key point.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's definitely, one of those up and coming neighborhoods. Absolutely.
I think the one thing in Carmel Valley that a lot of people might not even know too, HOAs in these planned communities are significantly affordable. When I go into some of these areas that are closer to the coast, I'm going to have HOAs, going even above $600 and $700. And in Carmel Valley, you don't find that. So great location. And truly what Ruben said, so true. You really need to tap into somebody like our brains, because we can help so much debunk where you feel like you cannot buy here in this county. It happens every day in my life. And when I watch people close, it is just the best thing to walk away and say, you didn't have to move away from the beach. You thought you did, but you didn't have to. And now we're investing in your next 20 years, your next 30 years, your legacy that you're leaving behind you. And you guys, you can buy lots of things in this world, but you'll never be able to scoop like you will out of real estate. That's just tried and true for so many years. And it's fun to watch people succeed in today's world with their equity positions.
For sure.
Martin, what are your thoughts?
One thing I did take away from this area, especially after what Anastasiia said about the area being a master planned community, being that it was very meticulously planned out on where everything will be. It was started in like the 80s, so they really didn't build it till like the 90s and the 2000s. So you're not really going to see these old like 40s, 50s, 60s homes. So for fix and flip, for example, right? a lot of the things you're going to be seeing here, and we're actually going to talk about this later on the deal segment, but cosmetic flips, this is a great area for that because you know that a lot of these homes were built with higher quality than most of these other areas because of that master planning. And because of that, you have obviously a high price of entry for a flip, but you have a more safe return on your investment because you know things are selling, you know the demand is super high here, and you don't really have to worry about all these super expensive underlying issues as long as the home was obviously well maintained. But the oldest property you're going to see is like in late 80s. So great area for cosmetic flips.
Yeah, speaking of all those flips, that got me thinking about the economic development that's coming into the Carmel Valley area. Anastasiia, what do you think about that?
Yeah, on economic development, this is where Carmel Valley becomes more than just a desirable residential pocket, which it is, like we have just established. But the clearest example, for example, is Juan Paseo. That project includes over 40 shops and restaurants, about 600,000 square feet of office space, and more than 600 luxury apartment units. That is not just a nice amenity, that is a real mixed-use economic anchor. It creates foot traffic, office presence, residential activity, and local spending power all in one place. And then additional to that, you can add Del Mar Highlands Tower Center, which expanded by more than 80,000 square feet of retail, plus the whole sky deck concept that turned it into more of a destination rather than just a shopping stop. That kind of development matters because it makes the neighborhood stickier. People do not just live here, they spend here, they meet here, work there, they stay there longer. And when a neighborhood becomes more self-contained like that, it usually becomes more valuable over time. And regionally, Carmel Valley is also sitting near some of San Diego's strongest employment engines, like life sciences, tech, research, defense. So you have this combination of local mixed-use strength and broader regional job access, which is exactly what you want underneath a premium housing market. So when I look at Carmel Valley, I do not see a cash flow first story. I see a scarcity story, a wealth concentration story, and a quality of life that people are willing to keep paying for.
So true. So true. It's funny. You mentioned Del Mar Highlands. That's the only thing I know about Carmel Valley, quite frankly. When I go to the sky deck and I'm like, man, this is a beautiful spot. This is like, look, when I first went there maybe like 2 years ago, when I was just like kind of like figuring out the area, I'm like, this has to be like super brand new, and obviously it was. And so Juan Paseo is just a great example of the type of development that's happening, in Carmel Valley, and it's beautiful. And we're gonna meet there next Friday, so
yes.
It's gonna be great.
Can't wait.
Once again, Tracy Hassey, Tyker Escrow Services. When I think of Carmel Valley, I've lived in and around Carmel Valley, Del Mar, Rancho Santa Fe forever until I moved to Coronado a few years ago. But it is such a central, great location, and I'm learning so much from everybody's comments, and especially you, Anastasiia, with being the hyper-local focused educator here. But the other thing is, it's nestled in such a sweet spot because Carmel Valley is surrounded once again by Rancho Santa Fe, Del Mar, La Jolla, some of the most luxurious and expensive homes in Southern California are in these areas. So I kind of think of it like those buyers trying to get into Carmel Valley that can't buy in those areas yet are surrounded by those areas. But my question to you is, are maybe some people in those other areas trying to downsize and they're finding Carmel Valley could be a sweet spot for them to land? Is that what you're finding at all, Anastasiia?
Well, definitely when the families who have like lots of kids and like they went to like jobs and universities like somewhere out of state, we do have like some trend of people like moving to Carmel Valley, like you said, like downsizing. But the homes here like are still relatively large, even like at the smaller price point compared to Del Mar and Torrey Pines. So I think like the trend of like having that as a like a stepping stone to like a much nicer area is more prevalent, but definitely we see some downsizing of all these regions like coming in here depending on like the personal situations and needs.
Yeah, oh, that's amazing. Yeah, no, as far as Carmel Valley is concerned, I mean, I think we can continue to talk about the market trends. I'm sorry, the quality of life market trends and economic development. But I think everyone agrees that this is an area that not only that you should live in, but you should certainly look to buy real estate in if you have the opportunity. Again, it's certainly not the cheapest place to buy real estate, but then again, we're in San Diego, everybody. It's all just relatively speaking, right? But you know what? It's so great to talk about those insights. Let's talk about the real deals, huh? You guys want to talk about a real deal?
Yes.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, let's do it. Let's just transition
Absolutely. Let's do it.
to learn local deals.
Awesome. Good job, everybody. Obviously, not too familiar with this area. We don't do too much in this area because of obviously the quality being a little newer of a property and the price point. But when you do find a deal here, it's honestly a slam dunk because just the comps you can find in the area it makes it such a great place for a cosmetic flip. But before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Revolution Realty Capital. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ruben, and thank you so much for Revolution Capital for sponsoring the segment. Again, my name is Martin Magana with Oak Rock Realty, where we really do help you and specialize in identifying, underwriting, and buying or selling your next investment property, whether it's wholesaling or identifying it for you. So that being said, let's hop right into the deal. For this week, obviously, we're going to be staying in the Carmel Valley area. We have a 3-bed, 2.5-bath townhouse. It is 2,119 square feet. It sold for 1.49. It went 90K over ask really quickly. I think it was 25 days. It was built in 1993. So you're going to see a lot of these townhouses, especially in this area, being built between the early 90s and the early 2000s. You're not really going to see anything before that, especially because all the development didn't even start till the 80s. It's a single family home with a 2-car garage. It's located in Carmel Valley, San Diego. And it's a great example of a fixer property on the cosmetic side because everything's in great condition. Obviously, you just need to pressure wash the back. Make sure you check your big ticket items, your HVAC, your ceilings, your flooring. Make sure there's no foundation issues. But for the most part, these type of properties are the bread and butter in the area that you're going to be doing these flips in because all you really have to do is renovate the kitchen, the bathroom, all the main bedrooms. And you don't have to put in too much. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a higher price point for a flip because of the square footage. But even with that, like you're easily seeing a 1.6, 1.7, even 1.8 exit for model match comps in this area. So I'm sure if it went over 90K, these guys are going to make a good amount of money once this gets relisted. But I want to open up to you guys. What do you guys think of the area? What do you guys think about cosmetic flips in general versus normal fix and flip?
Yeah, I mean, what I'll say about it, especially with the age of the properties, is to your point, always make sure you're checking the big ticket items. But a lot of the plumbing, electrical, all that stuff's going to be up to code because of how new they are compared to, buying something that was built in the 40s, 50s, or 60s in some of these other San Diego neighborhoods. So that cuts costs, but it's also huge on the resale, right? Because I think we all know home inspectors love to point out every single code violation they can possibly find. So even though you may not need to fix these things on other flips because maybe it is cosmetic and you're not pulling permits, you still got to think of the resale aspect. And so with this area, hopefully you won't run into that many issues because of how new the properties are.
Yeah, no, 100%. Nicole?
No, totally. I think quick cash conversions are always beautiful when you're looking at investments, but even from the owner occupied world, it's like, let's look into that 203K. Sometimes buyers feel like these kind of things will also be out of their reach, but using a small amount of a rehab loan to be able to get that owner occupied person into a great equity position, especially in the areas that we're talking about today, advantageous always. What do you think, Anastasiia?
Yeah, this is a great example of a cosmetic flip, and just like Martin said, like it is much more easily to be found in Carmel Valley than a traditional fix and flip. But cosmetic flips are really the lighter version of traditional fix and flip. It just means like paint, flooring, fixtures, kitchens. I mean, we all know that. Bath, I mean, has usually already the curb appeal without getting like too deep into the system. So structural work. Traditional fix and flips usually mean like heavier risk and heavier capital. But so that could be something that is a plus for somebody who wants to just minimize a little bit of a timeline that needs to be done, or the margin of mistakes that could be done as well on a traditional fix and flip that involves a lot of like roofs and foundation and layouts and permits. So it just needs a little bit more experience.
Mr. Carlsbad, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the exact type of flip that a lot of people are trying to make a quick buck are looking for. Like that, it's going to cut down the cost significantly. So there's not a lot of investment that has to get put into it. Plus, it's a fairly quick turnaround, which is kind of what investors are looking for these days to really trim down costs for a quick sale. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of potential right there. Absolutely.
One big thing here is the curve appeal, like Anastasiia was saying, that a lot of investors will spend a good amount of money on the landscaping, on making the area look super nice for that. But one thing I find is with these cosmetics, obviously they're already basically set for you. All you have to do is clean it up a little bit. And the other big thing when you're doing cosmetic flips is check your comps, because a lot of these comps will sell in this area, especially. The work you put in will directly affect your outcome. Other areas you can kind of get away with a more lazy, just basic rehab. But this area specifically, your exit will be based on how much money and how much effort you put into your flip. So make sure you're just matching or even surpassing slightly the comps you're going off of to make sure you have no problem selling this and making sure it doesn't sit.
That's the question I had, Martin. So, obviously, just for viewers who are not familiar with the numbers on a cosmetic flip, as opposed to like a full flip in Carmel Valley, how much are you looking? What is the investor typically looking to, or should be looking to spend to kind of be equal to what's already there on the market in terms of
so obviously each deal is different. Really like general rule of thumb that obviously I go off of as like my initial prospect before I walk the property and actually like get very solid numbers is for a full on fix and flip, like full gut top to bottom. I do anywhere from $70 to $100 a square foot, 100 being like you basically restarting from scratch. But for a cosmetic flip, you can get away in the $50, $55 per square foot. And if you have a team of contractors, I see people getting away with even cheaper if you have everything in one-stop shop. That being said, until you walk the property, like that should be a general basis. Never be like, oh, I'm going to buy this property because I multiplied the square footage by $55 a square foot. Always make sure you walk it, you bring your contractor, you make sure you have the exact line item of every single item that you're going to be doing. And if you can, get an inspection. That will 100% guarantee you don't miss anything, and then you'll be solid from there.
100%. Yeah. Casey, you want to make another comment before I ask another question?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I'm kind of going back. I keep thinking about what Stephanie said and focusing on homeowners as well and not just investors in these neighborhoods. Because one thing I find when you're looking for a cosmetic flip in a very desirable neighborhood that has a low days on market is from the investor standpoint, sometimes it's difficult to get that price low enough where you're making a good profit. Because there are people that are trying to get into this neighborhood and they're willing to pay more as a first-time home buyer or someone that's going to occupy the property compared to what an investor is actually willing to pay for the property because they're focused on making a profit. So, having first-time home buyers or any home buyers in this market that want to get into it definitely will help your sellers get top dollar. And sometimes it's a better fit for them anyways.
So true. I know that we had talked a lot about condos and condo issues last week, and then that was Vista. Do we have is there a similar issue in Carmel Valley with condos and condo associations in Carmel Valley? What do you say, Anastasiia?
From What I've seen, like Nicole said, like here, it is definitely much nicer on the HOA side. The HOA fees like tend to be smaller and sometimes even non-existing. However, you can also find a lot of pockets where you would have single-family homes that are kind of structured with the HOA mentality. Like there would be like much newer developments, but the appeal for the condos is definitely the lower entry point, just like I was saying, like during the presentation, into a very strong submarket. So if you want to stay in Carmel Valley and like potentially move up to that like $2.3 million, like the 700-ish thousand is definitely like a much nicer input. But the main issues would definitely be sometimes like the rental restrictions, deferred maintenance at the complex level, and whether the product really competes well against newer, attractive inventory nearby. Because of such a nice area, people still find the spaces to build, and that creates newer and nicer and more luxurious apartments, which is great for the investor. Like already like has property is gonna appreciate very well, very nicely. But because with condos, your upside is tied not just to the unit but to the whole community, so have to be on the lookout for that.
I think the strength here too is the year built of this area, right? So when we go back to AB 38, which caused a lot of HOAs to go into tailspins, that was all 1978 and prior, which we don't see in this neighborhood. So the risk of actually getting an assessment. So when you have an HOA and they do not include your roof and they don't include your exterior and they don't include all these things, when now we have to fix it as a community, that community fixes it, but now they assess it out to all of their homeowners. And the risk that you run in this year built of those kind of things happening to you is very low. So another great reason to be able to invest in these kind of areas, because truly a lot of buyers don't think about it. Okay, so I'm paying $300 for HOA, but now they just did all of our roofs. And so now I have an additional $500 a month that I have to pay on top of the $300. And it's not even the affordability factor as far as like, can I take that on in the loan? Most buyers, well, it is, because it's going to, one, cut off the ability to get that loan when I have to pay $800 to HOA, right? Plus you're paying for a roof that's assessed and it stays there for a long time, and it can really collapse communities. So having the year built older or newer than 1978, there's a lot of discretion back before 78, is a very safe investment for you to be able to look for in your future too. Martin,
one last little thing I will say, going off of what Casey said, I think was honestly one of the most important things talked about was cosmetic flips. Obviously, as an investor, you're trying to maximize your profit and do all this, but what they don't really think about is you're competing with the normal home buyer who is like this is the type of product they want to live in as their forever home. But a little side note for that is if you can't find your forever home because you're priced out of it, one really big thing you can do is buy one of these cosmetic rehabs or even like a more intensive rehab, and then you build your forever home with because there's a bunch of different loan products you can use. I'll let them talk about it a little more, but buy cosmetic flips and make it your forever home. It's a little cheaper than doing it. Just make sure you have a plan, and it's not recommended for your first time buyer, but if you know what you're doing, you have a plan, you have the funds to back yourself up just in case, it's a great opportunity.
Well, and something that I think Casey brought up earlier was there's no permits required when you're doing a cosmetic flip. And that is huge because those permits can really delay projects, delay those earnings. So yeah, and just, I mean, I concur with everything everybody's saying. I do have one question. For this area, are Airbnbs popular? Can you do 1 week or is it a 30-day? What is that, Anastasiia?
Airbnbs are quite popular here, but yeah, they have restrictions. You cannot do less than 30 days, I'm pretty sure. And it goes complex by complex, but that is the comments that I've heard from a lot of like the people that I meet here. And like I have a friend who just does Airbnb constantly, and there is a workaround for that, but definitely if you want to set up an LLC and do something like that would be a better way to go around it. It is a little bit harder to find a shorter version of stays.
I want to add right there, because truly you guys, just the long-term rentals to 30 days or more, there is a lot of money being made in our county right now with this, with housing people that are going through insurance claims, floods, fires, corporate relocations that can't find housing. So even in a 30-day or more that you have to hold as a rental, you still have an area, like Tracy said, that's a total sweet spot to be able to still scoop in those long terms. I mean, out here in Lakeside, you guys, $9,000 for a 30-day rental.
Yeah.
Because of a claim of insurance for flood or fire. There's a lot of money being made in these spaces as well. So sometimes when we can't do short term, there's still success there. It's just a matter of scooping into brains like ours and others in this county to be able to help you get there.
Awesome insights, everybody. I will say one last little thing is make sure you look up your regulations, look up your HOA, and look up your Airbnb restrictions, because you never know what they are in this area, because it is very area specific. But with that, it's time we transition over to Tracy Hassey and the event segment.
Hey, everybody. Once again, Tracy Hassey, Super Connector, VP of Escrow Sales for Ticor Escrow Services. Before we roll into the favorite part of the show here, Learning Local Events, I want to thank our sponsor. So take it away.
Smart real estate investing starts with the right partner. At HLM Group LLC, we guide investors through every stage, from acquisition to full service management. Whether short, mid, or long-term rentals, we transform properties into high-performing, fully booked spaces. Design, staging, leasing, hospitality. We don't just manage properties, we create experiences that feel like home. Because the best investments deliver more than returns. They become places where life happens and memories begin. HLM Group LLC, own the property, we'll craft the experience.
Hey, everybody. Once again, want to thank Roger Lee, HLM Group LLC. So everybody, this is so exciting. I love meeting people live in person. It's one thing to see us all here, but so many of us go to so many events and we get to connect in person. And let me tell you, that is where the magic is happening. The deals are being put together. We're edifying each other and referring each other. So whatever you need, you've got the expert that's going to help you move things forward with your real estate dreams. So let's go ahead and roll into some exciting events happening here in San Diego. So we've got Vista Connections, Real Estate Meet and Greet Experience. That is today. If you're looking for something fun to do to meet some amazing people, today, April 3rd, at the Belching Beaver Brewery, Tavern and Grill in Vista. We had Stephanie on the show last week. She will be there, and a lot of people here on the show. So hope to see you there. And then the next one, another one of my favorites, Real Estate Inner Circle, unlock the power of collaboration at the Real Estate Inner Circle at the University Club. It is a private club in downtown San Diego and a great way, if you're not a member, to get a sneak peek. That is this Wednesday coming up, April 8th from 11:30 to 1. And please call to reserve your spot. And get ready to make some incredible connections and meet a lot of people here on the show that do attend that. We also have coming up through SDAR, which is San Diego Association of Realtors. It is the Business Beyond Borders, and this is through the International Real Estate Committee. It's all about navigating binational real estate opportunities. And this is going to be at the Novo Brazil Brewing in Otay, at the Rancho Chula Vista location. It's going to be Thursday, April 16th from 4 to 7. I know SDAR always puts on incredible events, with us being right next to neighbors with Mexico. You're going to get some incredible insights that are going to be super valuable for your business. And then next, we've got the Real Estate Investing Boot Camp. Learn, plan, invest, build your future. This is a hands-on training to help you go from learning to landing your first deal. And I believe this is on Eventbrite. It is Friday, April 17th. That time doesn't seem right. I think it's probably 11 a.m., 8 a.m. California time, and Saturday, April 18th. And that would be 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we've got another one. I know we do. ASI presents the 78 Festival. This is, I think, arts, and it's it'd be a fun, as you can tell by the imagery here. It looks like a fun, festive event, April 18th, 2:30 to 8:30 p.m. and 78th festival. That's pretty huge. So that looks like a really fun one to go to and just cut loose, have some fun, bring your friends and family. And then we've got the real estate industry networking event at L. Smith Brewing Company in downtown San Diego. That is April 22nd. It'll be here before we know it, 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 to about 9 p.m. And just a ton of fun, about 50 plus real estate industry experts networking, rubbing elbows, putting deals together. And then another one from SDAR, this is showcasing innovative development strategies. And this is brought to you by their Commercial Real Estate Alliance of San Diego division. This one is Thursday, April 23rd from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the headquarters for SDAR on Ronson Court. Like I said, they always put together incredible events. You don't want to miss that one. And that's kind of a wrap. And I know, Anastasiia, you probably have something coming up next Friday in your neck of the woods in Carmel Valley. You want to share some details about that?
Yeah, we're going to be meeting at Skydeck at our
you're on
happy
mute.
hour. No.
We can hear you. You're good.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to be meeting at Skydeck, just like
we
I was
can't hear
talking
you.
here, the Pacific Highlands area.
guys hear?
So it would be, yes. So it would be very, very nice to see everybody, meet people, and would love to talk further about the beauties of Carmel Valley and to move you here. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what everyone's goal here is, right? It's just to get someone making decisions, committing to an area, and really kind of investing. Right.
Yes.
So I know that there's a lot of events. I mean, we can talk about so many different events, but the events that bring us together as educators and investors are really important. So I want to encourage you all to make it out, because quite frankly, I network mostly with you guys. So it's great to not only see you on camera, but certainly want to, network with you in person on a regular basis as well. Speaking of which, I hope everyone's going to the Belching Beaver today. No?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Sure.
I'll be there. I might even be there early to get lunch. So I'm in North County, and it's a stone's throw away from me. So it's certainly something I'm looking forward to. And then the Skydeck, again, like I said, the One Paseo, amazing spot. I think if we hadn't already, me and my wife hadn't already found a place when we got here, we might have lived in Carmel Valley, like literally right there. But yeah, so that's another reason for these events. Is just amazing. It's to really just check out the communities that we talk about every week. It's one thing to hear about all these different communities that we highlight the quality of life, market trends, and economic development. It's another thing to just immerse yourself in the experience, right? We're not here live and high tech necessarily just to give information. We really do want to meet people. Hey, before that, one last event that I want to talk about that's really happening, really going to be big for everyone learning local, all the educators here, is that we're actually doing the Lifeline Challenge starting on April 7th to May 30th. So I know that Nicole, John, and then Tracy was here when we were doing the Learning Local Challenge. I recently renamed it to the Lifeline Challenge because that's the LLC that I created to create Learning Local. And it's going to be very, 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 very interesting because we're going to be creating and introducing interns to learn from the educators that are here. So we're going to have we're going to be creating a lot more engagement with people who are wanting to learn the business. And again, with you educators here on the podcast. So it's only another way for anybody who's, quite frankly, going back to the article. Let's just quickly go back to the article, right, about affordability. It really, a lot of times it's not just simple things that we can kind of point out that are causing all this stuff. It really is a lack of education. It's really the lack of people getting, hearing it from the right person. And what I'll say and reiterate about Learning Local Live is that the educators that want to be here, that really want to be accountable for getting people into the homes, into the businesses, into the areas that we talk about, they're here. You might as, really, they're here to have their brains picked and, really just kind of create that legacy. Like Nicole, you talk about this investing as a legacy all the time. I love it. I think that's the way everyone should be thinking about their real estate journey. So, we'll continue to provide the education. Any last comments from you guys? It was
Happy Easter weekend. This was an awesome show. I learned so much from each one of you, and you're such a pro and so knowledgeable about Carmel Valley, Anastasiia. So thank you for all the insights from everybody. Everybody's greatly appreciated. And cheers to your success.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. We can go really quick around. John, Mr. Carlsbad, any last comments about Carmel Valley? Anything that we had talked about Carmel Valley?
Yeah, I mean, Carmel Valley is definitely on, the up and coming as a neighborhood, definitely on the upswing. There's a lot of massive real estate and economic development coming into there. So it's definitely a highly desirable place for young families because of the schools and all the massive retail and office spaces there. So yeah, I mean, it's, one of the top destinations, there's no doubt.
Awesome. Casey, last comment for the show?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where Carmel Valley ends and Del Mar begins, right? So, and you're getting it at a fraction of the price. So it's definitely a great area to be in. Definitely a good value, and you can't beat the neighborhood itself and all the surrounding neighborhoods, the central location. Really awesome place to be.
100%. Nicole?
I think Tracy said it best. It's a sweet spot. You're 15 minutes, you're like 10 minutes really to the beach. It just depends on where you're coming from. And truly just a community that is well built, and you're built that will continue to give you equity over time without a lot of money spent in the long run.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Anastasiia, please provide any last comment you want to provide about Carmel Valley, please.
Absolutely. Well, Carmel Valley is really the kind of submarket where people keep paying for predictability. Just like I was saying, strong schools, limited inventory, and a polished lifestyle. It's very hard to replicate, especially like not on the Del Mar prices. So even with the broader market gets noisier, this area tends to hold up better than most because the demand drivers are pretty durable. So if anybody wants to get in on a piece of land or a property in Carmel Valley, again, I'm Anastasiia Buiadzhy with Sellstate Next Gen Realty, and would be happy to help you.
Absolutely. Well, you're the one standing up, so we will reach out to you for any information. Again, we're here to connect, collaborate, and create. Thank you all you educators who are participating on this show. If you want to be part of this show and create with us, go to join.learninlocal.com. We would love for you to join the community. We are a small community, but eventually we will be a large community creating a lot of waves in San Diego. I will be saying that. So thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all of you guys. See you guys next week. Until then, make it a great week.
Happy Easter.